we've heard the story before about men who, are in that kind of fix, and they take their own lives.
Yeah.
But this is different. He took the children.
Took everybody.
And his wife. And his own. It's awful.
Yeah. And it's, to me, the epitome. And unfortunately, it's not the only case I know of something like that happening, where people, from their vantage point, not wanting the members of their family to suffer. In their mind, however irrational that is, that if I can't take care of them, who will care for them? There'll be no one, and they will be, and I cannot manage that thought of them suffering like that. So they too, I take them out as a mercy from their vantage point. Again, none of these things, I think, are unusual given our extreme attention to the things we possess. And becoming so absorbed in that, where we don't value intrinsically ourselves. And thus, I can't value you either. And so that speaks to suicide and homicide.
Where do you think that this could possibly go as the economic noose continues to tighten?
My feelings about this, and while that is extraordinarily tragic, I am concerned about the level of violence on the ground in communities that are already vulnerable, that are already suffering, that are already impoverished.
Right.
What happens to those individuals who know no other way, that if I can't have it, then you can't either? Then you and I become our own enemies, because we don't have any infrastructure to work through. So I think that the potential for violence is going to increase. Violence in terms of people being fearful and not knowing where to turn, and not thinking, how about we help each other? More so, if I don't have it, I'm going to take yours.
Quick flashback to Pennsylvania Avenue on Inauguration Day. Do you think that there's a window of hope that could really ease this kind of pain from continuing to escalate?
I think this is a phenomenal window of opportunity. I think there's a phenomenal possibility if we ride this wave as it is, because what the window is I'm talking about, people that for whatever reason believe it's possible, have hope that it's possible. And what we have to do in this interim, while people are saying, I don't know if I completely believe it, but I'm willing to entertain the idea that it's possible for us to function as a unified community across race, across socioeconomics. To take that and to say to our children and to say to our communities, our churches, our families, that and like I said, this is the first time in my life I've ever seen people say, and I was there, I want to help that man. I want to help him. Now, I've never, people say, there's the president, he got a job, I got to do my thing. But there are people that are saying, what can I do to help this process? And I think that thinking is very unique and very powerful, that people are saying, I want to roll up my sleeves and do my part. And that means dealing with the folks that we've been ignoring. Dealing with the folks who, like I said, that are really suffering the most under this.
Okay, it's time for another break. I got a lot more to ask of you. You'll see. There's a thing that is almost as vicious as racism called greed. In fact, they're kith and kin. And many are saying that all of this economic malaise that we're looking at is brought on by people who are greedy. And the needy are the victims.
Of course.
Do you concur?
Of course. I mean, that's always been the case. It's not, it's probably more overt now, and probably okay politically to say it now, but it's always existed.
So what about the muscle and the wherewithal to, as we say in the hood, jack up these people who are greedy and tighten them up and make them act right?
Well, you got to figure out who's going to jack them up. That's number one. Who has the power and who has access and proximity to do so?
Yeah.
And I think what the exposure has allowed, the have-nots to look at the haves and go, Oh, I don't think so. And so now, whereas you have had a public that has remained for the most part ignorant of how this stuff works, what is unique about what is going on right now is the common person is becoming very, very astute about understanding how it trickles down or doesn't trickle down, and how what we're doing is impacting this person over here, and how you have folks that say, let them eat cake, essentially. Yeah. That's what we're looking, and you're looking at the masses of people saying, wow, okay, so we're doing all that we can to help you, and you feel no inclination to help me.
What about the hood? With all of this coming down, dinner is not available in too many households. School isn't either. Justice is not either. You talked some time ago on an earlier program about getting communities together or people to just talk shop. Have you carried that forward?
Absolutely. I'm so excited you asked me that. So excited. One is that I think that, and I talked about doing things in my home. I've kind of branched out, and this year my focus is really to move around the country and to develop groups of people sitting down and creating, in a sense, a virtual village, which is what I'm calling it, a virtual village, to help people assess and learn how to reconcile, how to work together the way we used to work together, and the way we're going to have to work together if we're going to survive this. So yeah, I have thought about it, and I have done it. One of the things I told you that I just came today from working with HIV positive women in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And talking to them and empowering them and explaining to them how they've arrived at where they are and what they can begin to do to pass along something different to the generation. These are women who have children, who have families, and to talk to them about the fact that we can learn from our own mistakes, and we don't have to repeat them. But we have to own it, we have to understand it, we have to know it inside and out. We need to take out stuff, behaviors, thoughts, and beliefs that are no longer helpful for us. Well, I've created the study guide, and the study guide, I've done a couple of pilots with it, and what the study guide does is it allows people to assess themselves, their families, their communities, and to put together plans. I want to speak a little bit about the virtual village. Contrary to popular belief, even though you're not related to me, you're in my village. What that means for me, for Joy, is that there are people in my life that I reach out to, that I know I can touch, who have wisdom, who have understanding, who know me, who love me, and have the courage to tell me the truth. And you're one of those people, Gil.
You know I'm a diabetic and I can't take too much sugar. Don't give me so much sugar.
It's the truth, though. It's the truth. And for those people who say, well, I don't have a Gil in my actual family, I have you in my virtual family. And therefore, when things get deep, I've created a village of people in my life that even though my parents are dead, I have people who are there that can be those people for me. And we have to teach people how to create healthy individuals, not the ones that are going to see me crazy and not tell me. The one I said that they'll see the booger and I tell you got the booger. I want people to say, yeah, Joy, you need to work with that. I need people in my life to do that. And it's a hard thing to do, but it's a necessary thing to do. So part of the study guide is to help people create a village that helps you navigate your career, your confidants, those who you need to go through for spiritual guidance, those people who help you in terms of your academic life, people who help you in your courtships. All of those.
And so I fold my arms across my chest and say, well, what about those who really need it? The fat cats, the greedy. How are you going to get them to sit down and confront their own shortcomings and problems?
Okay, now this isn't going to sound nice. Some of them got to